In this section, we're going to be looking at splitting a solid. Basically partition it into smaller regions so you can apply a mesh condition to the entire solid. This will also help you by being able to apply swept meshes to the different regions. So we're going to be opening up this gearbox. So taking a look at some of these parts, notice we have an assembly first of all. All of these components are in the tree, and so we can work on all of them at the same time. Sometimes we only want to work on one of the parts though. So what we can do in this case is we can right click and simply open that component. What this will do is we'll take this single component that's there, this single part, and we'll open it in its own window. Now any change we make to this component, you'll notice will also be reflected back in the assembly. So let's start with this part. And we want to splice it up and split it into smaller regions. And for that, we're going to use split solid. Split solid lets you click a face or a plane to use to split a solid. So the first thing we're going to use with split solid is to click the target object. In this case, we want to cut this yellow body. And notice it's one single solid. So I'll choose that body, and the next click lets me click a face or a plane or an edge to use as my cutter. So notice all I need to do, I don't need to pick any extra tool guide. If I click on this top face, this slices the model into 3 different solids. Our handle, this top rim, and this base. So I've cut it into 3 different sections automatically. Now you'll notice the last tool guide says click regions to remove. So if I'd like to, I could click and delete any of those regions that I cut. But we want to use those for analysis, so I'm going to undo back and leave them on my design. Now as I'm cutting my model into different pieces, what I'll commonly do is change the color of solids so I can see them better. If you click on select and click on a face, notice in this mini toolbar you can change the color of bodies. So I can make it blue, make it yellow, change the colors. So what we're going to be doing with split solid now is slicing these solids into sections that will make it easier to remove. So for instance, click the target object, click a face to slice with, and split that into 2 sections. Now in this case it splits it into a lot of different sections that are here. Now that's okay. Don't worry about doing something like this, and we'll take care of it later. But I want to do a few more cuts and cut the rest of these protrusions off. And I'm also going to show you another way to use split solid. Notice if I click this target object, first let me change the color so we can see it better. So I'll select on it, and I'll change the color to green. So now I'm going to use split solid, and I'm going to click the target object to cut. I'm going to cut this green solid here. Notice again, click the face or plane I want to use as a cutter. I'll click on this side face, and it says click to remove regions. But what I also can do, click to remove regions, or hold Control to select an additional cutter. Notice if I hold the Control key down, as long as it's held down, it switches me back up to this tool guide. So if I want to cut on these other faces, notice all I have to do is hold the Control key down, launches me back up, and I can slice this front face, hold Control, slice the side face, so I've sliced off all of these other sections at the same time. Now I'll do one more slice on the back, again holding Control key to toggle back up, and slicing off the back of the model. Now you notice I've sliced this into a lot of different solids that are there. Now the last thing that I might want to do is choose to merge certain parts of this model back together. First of all, these little sections down here I might want to merge into the pieces above them. Now to help see them better, again I'm going to choose select, choose the body, and change the color. But what I want to do now is merge these blue regions. I'm going to merge this back half into the red, this front half into the green. So the first thing I'll do is with split solid, say I want to cut this body, and notice I want to cut this body as well. So the same way before, when I hold Control to go back up, I can hold Control and select an additional target. And I can hold the Control key, I'm selecting another target. So now I have two of these targets selected. So now I'm going to cut with this red face, and I'm going to cut two different bodies at the same time. So now the last thing I need to do is I could either leave them as separate bodies if I want, or I can merge them back together. So combine lets me do this. Combine actually does all of our Boolean operations. Lets us take two bodies, subtract one from the other, or take two bodies and merge them together. The most critical thing with the combine tool guide and the combine workflow is what you're doing after you click the target. So let's say I click this green solid as the target. I go to the middle section of tool guides. I'm either cutting something away from the target or merging something into the target. So if I click on merge and I click this blue solid, it merges it into the green one. If I want to merge another one in, click this blue solid, it merges it into the green one. I could do the same thing with the red body. Click in white space, click the red body, click on the merge tool guide, and merge these two blue solids. Click once, click twice, and merge them into that red body. So now we have a lot of different solids to represent this one single part, which will let us do much simpler mesh conditions on the different bodies. And lastly, you'll notice if I go back to the gearbox, everything we did on that single part is represented and shown in the assembly. So I hope you've seen how you can use split solid and combine to cut up models and partition them for analysis.